Why hello there, fellow space miners. Rodamon here. Thank you for tuning in to Stationeer's Brutal Vulcan. Episode 50. Hardsuit and sensor glasses with or scanner. Question, should I make the Hastelloy? It's not necessary for the hardsuit, but like, it's probably not that difficult to make anyway, so like, I'll just let you guys decide. So these are already pressurized a bit, and we want to bring this to 7225 kPa for the Astroloy. So grab our labeler. 7225. It looks like you guys might, oh, I don't know. Yes, no, either way, I don't care. Again, it's happy to go either way. If I wouldn't be pulling on it. The caveat, however, is unlike the Astroloy, the Hastelloy requires on having enough pressurant. So I'm not 100% sure I have enough pressurant in the tanks yet, but I could work towards that if I don't. So 7225, 3 cans. And I would just wait for it to pressurize and we'll be all set. So the output's set to 0. The input we can set to full. I can stick in the first steel in there already. Doesn't really matter. All 3 cans are already set to 7225, so they're all set to go. Can 1, can 2, can 3. Power this up. I'm going to wait till all 3 canisters are completely empty at 0 kPa, or 0 temp, before firing it up. That way I know that they're ready to combust fully. So ignite. And then feed it the remaining cobalt and copper once the processing of the steel is done. Now, the steel itself isn't outgassing because it's already an alloy that has outgassed, but the cobalt and the copper will outgas. And the cobalt will produce more nitrogen. Speaking of nitrogen, if we grab our little tablet here, as you can see, the nitrogen is going up as a result. Now, I'm not really sure why this is not ready to go. All right, let's pause a second. It needs to be 30.8 MPa, and for whatever reason, it didn't reach that. It's almost there, but not quite. So I think what I'll do is I'm just going to create a quick correction here. By loading some pressure in. Yeah, I don't know why the formula was not working. Perhaps temperature differences? Also, it took all the... You know, I could also just add a little bit more fuel. Ooh, that got pressurized. Yeah, I'm just going to push fuel into it. Because the pressurant is like colder, so it's not helping the way I would want. Well, I was hoping to avoid this situation, but well, whatever. So now it's like chaos math. There we go, Astroloy. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there, but we fixed it. I had a little bit more fuel to combust. Didn't really measure it, of course, but add a little bit more fuel that was still stuck in the lines, and it combusted up to what was needed. Perfect. All right, input 0, output full, and now we're flushing the nitrogen in the nitrogen tanks and everything else out to Vulcan. So Astroloy is done, and you guys do want Hastelloy, or oh, I spelled it wrong, I think. And for that, We need silver, nickel, copper. Or silver, nickel, cobalt. Wow, I am so bad at reading today. So Hastelloy will be next. I think what I want to do before I make the Hastelloy, though, is to make myself a Hardsuit and move into the Hardsuit. My current suit has damage, and then also, of course, Hardsuits are going to withstand the temperatures. And one of the advantages of that is it won't fill my waste tank as fast when I'm out in the hot noon air or whatever. It's going to make a pretty big difference. All right, just waiting for this to read 0. And if we're doing Hastelloy, I'm going to want 1 can of fuel at 8,500. And then we'll start to do the pressurants. Would switching to the upgraded tanks for O2 help? Not really, because your waste tank maxes out at 4 MPa, regardless of whether it's a smart canister or not, so it wouldn't make any difference. Basically, as soon as your waste tank is going to be the limiting factor almost entirely. Like, all the time. So there we go. There is our fuel. And then the pressurant for it, we need 8 pressurants at... So 8 pressurants at 86. So the back pressure regulator is going to be set to 86. And we're going to need to fill up every single canister we have, and then do 2 more on top of that. And I don't know if I have enough pressurant for this, as I said. So this might be a work in progress. Yeah, I'm nearly out of CO2. So it's going to be a work in progress. I don't quite have enough CO2 in our tanks in the base to fill these pressure tanks. But the advanced furnace is done. So we will still make the Hastelloy. It's just going to require me to filter out more CO2. Not a big deal. Let's get our Hardsuit. So I have the sensor goggles, and now we're going to get the Hardsuit. Oops, not what I meant to do. Hardsuit and hard helmet. So Hardsuit requires steel and stellite. And I put the steel in here, I think. Where'd the steel? Oh, no, steel's here. And then it's currently nighttime. So let's increase the amount of CO2 that we're filtering from atmosphere with the temp setup. This janky thing. Oh, you know what? This janky thing is missing something. This janky thing is missing a drain. So I need to upgrade the janky to make it work. Because pollutant will turn into a it will turn into a liquid in those pipes and burst. There's the Hardsuit, and we'll do the hard helmet. So a liquid drain, and then 1 more pipe. Copper. I don't need 2 of them. I need an insulated pipe. And my steel's in here, so I gotta wait a second. There's the Hardsuit and hard helmet. Astroloy. Stellite. Steel. Yeah, I'll print up a few. All right, let's, can I just do the suit switching here? Yeah, I can. But for an abundance of caution, I'll do it in the crew quarter. Because I have had some lung problems doing it in the regular base, because I haven't fully filled the regular base with oxygen, and, like, better safe than sorry. Alright, we'll start with the helmets, or actually we'll start with the suits. So both suits in both hands, open both, and air tanks, life support, and filters. Now the other thing is the Hardsuit has a programmable chip. I obviously don't use IC code in this run, but if you wanted to, you could use that programmable chip to, like, determine your location with your suit, which is useful for, like, when I'm near the base, turn all the lights on, you know, stuff like that. Or, like, when I'm inside the base, lift my visor, you know, whatever. You could do whatever you want with it. Alright, so the suit's done, and there's really nothing to do with the helmets. Helmets are pretty straightforward. So, I'm just going to leave those there, because I don't really care. Well, while I'm in here, I might as well hydrate and, eat. We are in our beautiful Hardsuit. Okay, I'm not gonna change the internal temperatures and pressures because I think the Hardsuit's gonna be better at keeping temp and pressure normalized, and if that doesn't remain to be true, I can then subsequently change it. What I'm referring to is my EVA suit that I had previously had lower pressures and higher temperatures to account for Vulcan, because essentially if you're trying to keep, like, a comfortable temperature in your suit, it's gonna have to do a lot more waste tank flushing. To try to keep up with how hot Vulcan is. But with the hard suits, I probably don't need to worry about that as much. But if I wanted to, I could change the temperatures and pressures here. And we're about to have a real-life test, because it's sun-up now. Which also means I'm not going to be able to turn on the super gig event for added CO2 acquisition. This bad boy. Which is fine. We can do this tonight. So yeah, my waist, let's do... I'm gonna do temp up to like 40 Celsius. Alright, now let's do 35. And then pressure down to... 60? Waste tank's still filling up, but I don't think nearly as fast as it was before. Alright, so, the shopping list. Silver, nickel, cobalt. So we have a little bit of cobalt. We don't have the silver or nickel. Well, actually, I have the nickel. I'm just dumb. So, 50 cobalt, 100 silver. And this makes it a lot easier. Oh, there's uranium there. Silicon. I forget all the colors. It'll take me a second to get adjusted. That's lead. Hydrocarbon. Silver. Now in Vulcan, because there's so many ores, it's almost like information overload. But it does make it easier to mine out an entire vein and, like, mine pretty effectively. And I'm also right next to a cobalt vein. I can see that's like a purpley color. Done. Much, much easier. And yeah, my waste tank is not filling up super, super quick. So I can definitely be out here longer as a result of the Hardsuit, pretty clearly. Some veins seem really deep. Yeah, some of the veins might be deeper than what you functionally can go because of the magma layer. So it's like, it's down there, but it's like not where you can get at it. You can think of it that way. Alright, swapping around batteries. So we have all the materials we need for the Hastelloy. And now it's just a matter of getting the pressure in. Which I might actually have enough CO2 by now. So let's go and check. It's such a shock to see the base now. You're on episode 20-ish. Yeah, I bet. Alright. Reminder. We need the pressure in tanks up to 8,600. So, back pressure regulator is going to regulate that. So we have a turbo to push a lot of gas into the thing, and then a back pressure to pull a little bit of gas back. So now all of the current tanks are 8,600, turning everything off. Let's turn off output and turn on... Actually, let's not turn on in... Yeah, we're going to input the pressurants first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So all we need to do is 2 pressurants after this is done. So output 0, input 100, and turn on. Oops, turn on. So now it's getting flushed with pressurant. Once these read 0K, I will move the 2 of them back into the canisters, and then the rest back into storage. Can 1. Can 2. Storage. 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 And then these 2 cans also need to go up to 86. Ooh, I have enough CO2. There we go. They're both 86. And all the pressurant for the Hastelloy has been loaded up. For the fuel, it's just a single can. And then the actual recipe is the silver, nickel, cobalt. So let's get that all in my jetpack, just so that it's separated out. So silver, nickel, cobalt. So there's no mistakes. Basically, I don't open my mining belt in this process. Just the bag. Here we go. Fuel can. In. When that reads 0, I'll store the fuel can and then fire it up and start feeding in the silver. Because silver's going to be... Actually, I might do silver last because silver's hot. Because it outgasses. And now I'm just pulling all the fuel back from the loading, because I'm not going to need it. So let me hide this. I'm pulling all the fuel back into the regular network, and I'll do the same with the CO2. So pressure regulator set to 0, turn on, and this is so that all of the CO2 and all of the fuel is now available in the base to be used, because I don't think I'm going to be using the advanced furnace much for a while, so there's no need to keep these lines pressurized with anything in them. So while that works, let's fire this up. Ignition has happened, and we'll start feeding ores. Yeah, I could turbo pump it back, because I know turbo pumps reverse. Maybe that makes more sense. Just turboed. Alright. All the CO2 is moved back in. And all the fuel's moved back in. Perfect. Alright, something's wrong again. What is going on here? Hastelloy needs to be at least 27.6 MPa. And it's... Actually, let's look it up. And get Hastelloy. So, between 25 and 30, and at least 727 Celsius. So what are we missing? Oh, is it too hot? It's too hot? Alright. I mean, one way we could literally do this is to just wait for it to cool down. Because it can't be any hotter than 727. Or we can load in some pressurant, which is a cooler gas, to speed up the process, and then maybe flow some of the pressurant out if it overpressurizes. So I'll just try to tinker with this. I guess the wiki is like out of date or something. I don't really know what's going on. So the input's still full. So that pressurant tank dropped the ambient temperature in there by like 30. But the pressure's still pretty high. And I'm just going to do this in smaller batches. So 727 is our target. And if it overpressurizes, it's not a big problem, because I can always release some pressure with the out valve. So 760. And if you're wondering, there's no flow back into this can. So even when this can still has a little bit of gas left, it's not like putting CO2, as you can see, the furnace gases don't go into this can, so I don't need to wait for this can to be completely empty. Alright, so it's almost the right temp now. It's 740. Do I have any more CO2? Yeah, I have a little bit. There we go. So, I don't know why the guide was wrong online, but we recovered it. It's not a big deal. Alright. Input 0. Output max. Dumping all the extra gas. That one's already been emptied out. Recovering all the CO2 we're not using, which is done. And I'm essentially resetting the furnace room to 0, so like it's just, you know, not in use. And we did recover some nitrogen from that cook as well. So now we have made every single element. So, I'm going to be updating the priority in a minute, once all this is done. The next project I want to do is check on the farm. And then after that, we'll do some other things. And Radlocker, thank you for the cheer, by the way. Just waiting for this to read 0 so I can reset its settings. Yeah, I'm hoping that the farm is cycled. And is ready to be harvested. And that is essentially the advanced furnace with gas canister fed. So I've done... Maybe you can learn from my mistakes and like add a little bit less gas for the Hastelloy and... What was the Waspaloy? The Waspaloy... Well, I guess if there's VODs. So you can adjust the gas amounts to account for the weirdness I had. But alright, this is... Reset. Furnace is reset entirely for whatever we want to do in the future. Alright. And here's all our super alloys and alloys. Alright, let's check up on the farm. And to make sure we are not going to kill off everything like we did before, because that was a real letdown. Plenty of water. And the ferns are already seeded. I think every fern seed is already fully ready to go. Okay. So... we don't really need to, like, pull it up to nothing. But it gives you a pretty good, visual indicator of, like... when it's, here, I'll do it like this. When it's reset. So I actually like to put it back into its, like, immature phase for that reason, as a personal preference. I'm just acknowledging that it isn't necessary, but it's a personal preference so I can visualize its growth and tell from a distance when it's, like, ready to go. And so far, all the ferns have been double yield. Sometimes they don't double yield due to, like, mutations. Which is, good. I'm all for that. So in this one harvest, we've more than doubled our oxygen production as a result of... And if I really wanted to, I could, and I'm not going to do this because it's, I don't think necessary, but I could, like, plant all the potatoes that I have and, like, ramp up all the others. I just don't. That's just more effort than it's worth. I don't need oxygen that badly, in other words. Okay. The wheat and soy hasn't gone to seeding, so I'm going to leave them alone. They take a little bit longer. And, there's still plenty of water in the system. So, let's talk a moment about big picture. In order to start a rocket troop program, I want to set up the base to have more fail-safes so that I don't need to monitor it as closely as I currently do. Basically, which means essentially a few things. One, I want monitors, actual physical monitors, to be able to see the temperature and pressure of the various gases I have in the base. So I know if I'm going to be running out of, like, volatiles, oxygen, carbon dioxide, etc. That's pretty straightforward. I've already done that for the farm and whatnot, that's not complicated. It just requires me to print up some consoles and some chips. I also want to change input gas. So in order to make fuel, water, whatever, oxygen, we take, so big picture, we take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, we feed it to the farm, convert it to oxygen through the plants, and then take that oxygen and make it into water with the H2 combustor, and then make it into fuel with a gas mixer. So the temperature of the carbon dioxide that we're taking from the atmosphere is kind of important. Additionally, if we want to make water or fuel, we're also taking volatiles from the atmosphere. So the atmosphere has both carbon dioxide and volatiles, and at the moment, we're using hot carbon dioxide and hot volatiles, which is like not ideal. So one part of this project is to set up a new intake tank. And the plan is to just fill like a tank somewhere on the roof with like maybe a gig event where we, at night, when it's like 126 Celsius, we vacuum suck air out of the atmosphere and fill it with that tank. And then that tank will have 126 Celsius carbon dioxide, volatiles, and pollutant ready to be used for base purposes, rather than pulling from our waste tank, which is like 40, 50 degrees hotter than that, which is like completely unnecessary. We don't need to be doing that anymore. The other thing I can do is that unfiltered atmosphere gas then can be run through some coolers where the heat is then dumped into our wasteline. So that not only are we taking colder gas from the atmosphere, but then we're pre-cooling a little bit. And the reason for that is as we produce a lot of fuel and produce a lot of oxygen and produce just a lot of anything, we're going to be dealing with higher volumes. And if I didn't do that, once we ramp up this farm again, and I'm using a lot of carbon dioxide to like produce oxygen, pulling in fresh carbon dioxide means putting potentially hot carbon dioxide that's going to kill the plants in the farm into the farm, and then that would kill the farm again. I don't want to do that. So step one is to change how we are doing gas acquisition in the base, essentially. And it's really not complicated. It's like when it's cold out, we pull air in until like 40 MPa into a tank, and then we run that tank through a coolant loop, just the way we do everything else. It's pretty straightforward. And then the other half of the project is just adding more monitor stations so that I can know what's going on in the base without having to like pull up my tablet. And that would have had us avoid some calamity, like running out of water. So I want to monitor the water in the farm. I want to monitor the nitrogen in the farm. I want to monitor the amount of other gases that I have, you know, those kind of things. And then once we have that done, we will be able to start doing the rocket program. So the first one is change gas intake, or gas acquisition, maybe is the right term. Method. To night gas. So just to run you through the current system, the CO2 and the volatiles that we filter is obviously taken from this orange tank. And this orange tank is 152 Celsius, right? And it actually has some NOS in there. So I was right about the furnace outgassing NOS. That was a real threat, and it would have put NOS, nitrous oxide, into probably our volatile, well, probably our carbon dioxide tank, because none of the other tanks are running. But the way this works is currently it's taking from the waste heat inputs, which does not make sense anymore. So I don't want to do that. So the inputs for volatiles and carbon dioxide are fundamentally going to change so that the temperatures of the volatiles and carbon dioxide are not as bad. Because here, this is case in point. The temperature of the CO2 in this tank right now, 38 or almost 39 degrees Celsius. That's not good. Any hotter and it kills plants if we are flushing it into the farm. So this is exactly why I want to set up the system, so that it's a set and forget system that I don't have to babysit, so that I can actually build rockets and do cool things without having to constantly tinker. So I'm going to ruggedize our base atmospherics, essentially. So let's start. First thing we want is a tank, insulator tank, and we only really need one of them. And then I'm going to use that like giga filter, the giga vent that we have on our roof for this purpose. So I don't need to like reinvent the wheel. I'll just like repurpose that vent. And then once that tank's done, oh, you know what? Oh, 100 days, triple digits without dying. Oh, yeah, we did it. Probably going to need to make a new batch of bread. 82%? Yeah. What is bread anyway? Bread loaf is flour and soy. I know I've already made some, but there we go. Oh, I don't have enough for bread. Never mind. Thought I had more flour. Well, fix that later. Because the wheat was almost harvestable, so I'm not too worried about that. Hey, Dave! Thank you for the cheer! We still got our hydration up to 175%, so we'll need to make more bread soon. But that's a problem for future me, not current me. The current fuel in the lines that we have right now, let's go ahead and feed that to our H2 combustor and make some more water while we're at it. So yep, there we go. I can see the pipe meter reading some water. So we're batching some water right now. Okay. So we have the insulator tank. I don't need the big one. Just this one should be fine. And the other thing I could do here is to filter out the pollutants, because we don't really need the pollutants. So I'll probably have a vent feeding to a tank with like a atmospherics kit attached to it to filter out the pollutants. So before we really get involved in the setup of this process, let's go ahead and remove that like jank that's on the roof and then change it for upgrading gas acquisition to night gas, which means this jank can go bye-bye. This project was just like for me to try to make more CO2 for the base. And most of this can be repurposed, but like probably not in the way it's set up now. So I'm just gonna move it and change it. One thing we could do is put the tank here. And that will be the new... Because I could put a frame here, like a partially welded frame, to put the like filters and stuff on it. So I could get behind that. So let's get one more like iron frame. I guess that's an iron frame. So one more iron frame and one iron sheet. And just like weld a frame so I can start building the intake system. Thank you for tuning in to Stationeers Brutal Vulcan, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhodamont.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhodamont.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel. and made it all the way to the credits, thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, fellow Vulcanites.